It's 11:47 p.m. You told yourself you'd sleep an hour ago. Instead, you're lying in the dark, phone 6 inches from your face, thumb moving on its own. Someone you've never met is on a beach in Bali. Someone else just got promoted. Someone else looks like they have the marriage you want, the body you want, the life you want. And somewhere in the scrolling, without even noticing it happen, your chest gets tight. A small voice starts talking. Why isn't that me? What am I doing wrong? Everyone's life is moving, and mine feels stuck.
You didn't choose to feel this. It just arrived, like weather. And here's the part that really stings. You know it's not real. You know that photo took 40 tries. You know nobody posts the fight they had that morning, or the anxiety attack in the bathroom, or the loan they're drowning in. You know all of this, and it changes nothing. The bad feeling stays anyway.
So you close the app, feeling smaller than when you opened it. And then you do something strange. You get mad at yourself for feeling bad. Why do I even care? This is so pathetic. Now you're not just sad. You're sad and ashamed of being sad. That double hit, that's what we're going to talk about. Let's back up, because this isn't really about phones. Phones just made an old human habit run 24 hours a day. Comparison is ancient. Thousands of years ago, knowing where you stood next to the people around you wasn't vanity. It was survival information. Who's stronger? Who has more food? Who's more likely to be chosen, protected, included? Your brain built an entire internal measuring system for this. Because in a small tribe, falling behind the group could mean starving or being left behind. That measuring system never got the memo that the world changed. So now, instead of comparing yourself to the 40 people in your village, people whose full, messy, complicated lives you actually witnessed, you're comparing yourself to thousands of strangers at their most edited, most curated, most performed moments. Your ancient survival brain sees a highlight reel and reads it as reality. It doesn't know the difference between this person's life and this person's marketing.
That's the mismatch. Your comparison instinct is built for real, whole, 3-dimensional people, but you're feeding it 2-dimensional performances. Of course the math comes out wrong. Here's where the psychology gets specific. There's a well-known idea in social psychology called social comparison theory. The basic idea that humans figure out their own worth partly by measuring themselves against others. Not because we're shallow, because we genuinely don't have another reliable ruler. Am I doing okay? Is hard to answer in a vacuum. So the brain looks outward for reference points. Normally, this system compares you to people in your actual life. Your friend down the street, your coworker, your sibling. People whose full context you have. You know your friend's promotion came after 2 brutal years of a job she hated. You know your coworker's perfect relationship has its own quiet cracks. That context softens the comparison. It keeps it honest. Online, the context gets stripped away. You're not seeing your friend's whole story. You're seeing a stranger's single frame. No backstory, no bad days, no doubt. Just the output. And your brain, doing what it's always done, still tries to measure itself against it. Except now it's measuring your entire complicated, ordinary life against someone else's greatest hit. That's not a fair fight. It was never going to be. Think about how specific this gets in real life. You post a photo where you feel confident, and it gets a few likes. Fine, forgettable. You see someone else's photo get hundreds, and suddenly you're not thinking about the photo anymore. You're thinking about yourself. Am I less interesting, less attractive, less liked? Or you're genuinely happy about something, a small win. You want to share it, and halfway through typing the caption, a thought creeps in. This isn't impressive enough to post. Not because it isn't good, because somewhere along the way, You started measuring your own life by what it would look like next to someone else's. That's the real damage. It's not just that comparison makes you feel bad in the moment. It's that over time, it quietly changes what you think counts as a good life. You stop asking, does this make me happy? And start asking, does this look like other people's happy? And this is where it gets emotionally heavier, because underneath the comparison is usually something softer and more vulnerable, a fear of being behind. Behind in love, behind in career, behind in becoming who you're supposed to be by now. Nobody tells you there's no real timeline. You just absorb one. From school, from family, from 1,000 invisible cues. And every time a stranger online seems to be hitting a milestone you haven't, that timeline feels like it's slipping further out of reach. The sadness isn't really about them. It's about the gap between where you are and where you quietly believed you'd be.
And when you feel that gap and then judge yourself for feeling it, why do I even care what strangers think? You're adding a second wound on top of the first. Now you're not allowed to feel behind. You have to feel behind and pretend it doesn't bother you. That's exhausting. That's two problems where there used to be one. Here's what most people get wrong about this whole thing. They think the fix is just stop comparing, as if it's a switch, as if a system that's been running since before recorded history can be turned off because you read a caption that said comparison is the thief of joy. It can't. Comparison isn't a flaw in you. It's a feature of being a social animal. Trying to eliminate it completely is like trying to stop feeling hungry. Wrong goal. The more honest goal is this. You don't have to stop the comparison from happening. You just have to stop believing what it tells you. So next time it happens, and it will happen, try this small shift. When the feeling shows up, don't fight it and don't obey it. Just get curious about it. Ask quietly, what am I actually afraid of right now? Usually it's not really about the stranger at all. It's, I'm afraid I'm falling behind. Or I'm afraid I'm not enough. The stranger's photo was just the trigger, not the true source. Once you can name the real fear, it gets smaller and more human. It stops being some vague, shapeless dread and becomes something you can actually talk back to. You can say, gently, honestly, I'm not behind. I'm just on a life that doesn't look like anyone else's, because it isn't anyone else's. And maybe that's the real realization here. You're not weak for feeling this. You're not shallow or pathetic or broken. You're a person with an ancient brain, living in a completely new environment it was never designed for, doing its best to keep you safe, using outdated tools. The goal was never to stop noticing other people. It's to stop mistaking their highlight reel for the full picture and start giving your own life the same context, the same patience, the same grace you'd give a friend if you knew their whole story. Because you do know your whole story. It's the only one you're actually living. And that, quietly, is enough.